Hey mages, welcome back to Standard MTG today. Today I've got a budget video for you, and these are going to be 3 competitive budget decks, all for under $50. Yep, that's paper, under $50, 3 competitive decks for you to take to FNM and start challenging your friends and maybe do some little tournaments down there. All 3 of these have really good percentage wins, all over the 59% currently as well. And for under $50, you can get yourself a really cool deck here, and hopefully it'll be competitive for the meta in your shops. So the first deck we're going to look at is a competitive budget Gruul deck. This is going to be a wolf tribal deck, so very, a lot of creatures. We've got 25 creatures in total, and then a mixture of 9 artifacts, instruments, sorceries, enchantments, and artifacts, and then we have a couple of planeswalkers as well. And like I said, these are all best of 3, because when you're playing in a shop, you do play best of 3, unlike Arena, where a lot of us do play best of 1. So there is a sideboard for this as well. So let's take a look at the first creature. It is a Packsong Pup. Really cool. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, if you control a wolf or a werewolf, put a 1/1 counter on the pup. And then when this dies, this has a really good effect of you gain life equal to its power. So the bigger it is, the better it is for you when it dies. It does gain some life for you. Then we go on to some other, I should have done the 1-drops first, but we got Ascendant Pack Leader in there. We got this as a 2-of. It's a 2/1, so really good stats. Ends a battlefield with a 1/1 counter if you control a permanent with 4 or greater, and we do have some of them, so it is possible that late game we've just got 2 of these in there. It can come in and obviously have counters as well, and can build up really well. Snaring Wolf is our other 1-drop here. It's a 1/1 for 1, so good turn 1 play, because leading into turn 2, you can pay 2, pump it up, give it +2/2, and you'll be swinging in for 3, which turn 2 is a really nice aggressive card to be playing in there. And you can only activate this ability once, but it is a good pressure card straight from the off in there. And then we get to look at some of our other creatures. We have Kessig Naturalist. This is a 2/2 for a green and a red. Whenever it attacks, add a red and a green. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps phase end, which is nice. And it also is daybound. This can flip into Lord of the Ulvenwald. Then becomes a 3/3, and this will pump up your wolves and werewolves, gives them all +1/1. So really good to flip this. And whenever this attacks, you get the same thing. You don't lose the mana steps and phases end as well. So we do have some werewolves here, so flipping is definitely going to be a thing in our little brew here. Let's get on to Tovolar. Tovolar, Dire Overlord, 3/3, another one that can flips, has daybound. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to play, you get your card draw. This is where we're going to get some card draw in this, and this is whenever. So we're going to draw, hopefully, plenty of cards with this on the field. Beginning of the upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves, it becomes night. You get to transform any number of human werewolves you control. Now, Tovolar flips into Tovolar, the Midnight Scourge, then becomes pumped up, becomes a 4/4. Whenever a werewolf you control deals combat damage to play, you get to draw a card again, and then you can X and the Gruul colours target werewolf or wolf, gets +X, +0, and trample to end of turn. So you can really sink in late game and pump up one of your creatures to get the job done, and no little token in front of it is going to stop this. We've got a nice bit of trample there to get the job done as well, which is, really cool. We do have a couple of Outland Liberator. Another flip card, but this is to attack artifacts or enchantments. We know there's a lot of them around in Standard at the moment. And then this will flip to the Frenzied Trapbreaker. Becomes 3/3. You still have the ability to pay 1 and sack it to destroy artifact enchantment. But whenever this attacks, you get to destroy as well, which, seems a very good substitute for actually sacking it. So I like that when the Frenzied flips. And some games it's going to be really good, and some games it's just not going to be needed. We've got a 1-of Primal Adversary in there. 4/3. Trample. Ends a battle, pay 1 and a green. Any number of times when you pay this cost, put 1 more times. Put that many 1/1 counters on the adversary, then up to that many target lands. Become wolf creatures if you like them to become wolf creatures. They all have haste, still lands, but then can attack in with the 3/3. Talking of haste, Reckless Stormseeker, one of the more expensive card creatures in the deck. I think actually it could be the most expensive in this, around $2.24. Beginning of your combat turn, another creature gets haste and +1/+0, and obviously this is another card that can flip with daybound, become the Storage Charge Slasher, and then it gives a target creature +2/+0 and the all-important trample, and obviously giving it a haste again. So we do have quite a fair bit of trample in this deck, which is good when you're playing decks that just, pummeling loads of little blockers down. and you just need to get over the top, and this, will help you get the job done, which is what you want to be doing. You want to be winning games, and you don't want little blockers stopping your aggro deck. So last creature we're going to talk about here is Howlpack Piper. Can't be countered, great against control decks. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, paying 2 and tapping it, and it's a wolf or a werewolf. You get to untap, and then if you got the mana, you can do it again. So this is really good. In there is a 2 of $1.74. Nice. One of the more expensive creatures again in this deck, and it will flip into the Wild Song Howler, a 4/4. Whenever this enters the battlefield or transforms, look at the top 6 cards. You may reveal a creature card, put it in your hand, but I happen to just like it as it is when it's the unflipped Piper myself. I think that's really cool. Now let's have a look at our spells. We have Wolf Strike. Target creature go +2/+0 to end a turn, then deals damage equal its power. Target creature you control as well. It gets +2/+0 if it's night. We got a Braid in there for a bit of removal. We got Lunar Frenzy. Give a creature +X/+0, first strike and trample, like I said. Combat Trick and getting over is what we want to get this job done. There's some really big creatures in Standard, like, the mono black deck runs Sheoldred, and, there's some real big beaters in Standard, and some really nice big green creatures as well. Howling Moon as a couple of in the enchantment. Begin the combat on your turn. Wolf or werewolf control gets +2/+0. Seems pretty sweet. And whenever opponent casts their second spell, create a 2/2 wolf. So something potentially with low mana costing decks that is just going to spam creatures with us if they decide to play it. But they're going to have to play the creatures because we've got, a heavy creature package here. And then a couple of bits of removal would play the fire. We've also got Arlinn in there as a 2 of. Now this is the most expensive card in this deck. $5.50 roughly, $5.49. We've got 2 of them in there, so maybe potentially a way to save a bit of money if you want to, but it's, it's a nice card. Has Daybound as well. So until end of turn, you may cast creature spells as though they have flash, and each creature you control is about with an additional 1/1 counter. We can -3 to make a wolf token, and then it will flip to Arlinn Moon's Fury, Nightbound, +2 to add 2 mana, which is the Gruul colours, and then 0 you can turn it into a 5/5 indestructible trample haste creature and just attack away with it. Land base, very simple. Mountains, forests, rugged highlands in there, Racer's Ring as a couple, and Carplusian Forest. And like I did say at the start, you can upgrade your lands if you want to, but I wanted to keep this under $50. So that is why these land bases are like that. Now we do have a sideboard in there as well. Sideboards are obviously situational to what are in your shop, but there is a sideboard, and there will be the full deck list below, so you can go and take a look at that. But if you want to swip and swap the change your sideboard, that's up to you. You've got to play what you're playing against in your shots. But this is Gruul, very aggressive and a very good budget deck. Now the next deck we go on to is, it's ultra budget. It's like under $30, this one. Delver of Secrets is a card that I love. Mono Blues, a deck that I love. And this deck is a very good tempo mono blue deck. It will raid your opponents. You might get some early quits with it. Runs minimal creatures, just 12 creatures. Delver of Secrets. Everyone knows what this one does. It's a 1/1 that can flip into the 3/2 if you reveal an instant sorcery card, and then we get the Insexile and you can start the beatdown. Main card of the deck for me though, Haughty Djinn. Love Haughty Djinn. We've got so many instants and sorceries and other spells. There's only 12 creatures. There's 27 of the others. So it's really, this could be out of hand. It makes our instant sorcery spells cost 1 less as well. So the power is equal to the number of them in your graveyard. You want to get this on there. The idea of this deck is to protect your minimal creatures. Get them on there, start flying away. You've got the evasion, especially when the Delver flips, and you've got a Haughty Djinn, and then you just protect it with all your life's worth, and then you will be attacking him for the win. Last creature we have in there, we have a 4 of Tolarian Terror. It's a big 5/5, costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery spell in your graveyard, so potentially you could get a 5/5. That's War 2 for 1 mana. So we'll trade off with a lot of creatures, and a little bit more awkward to deal with the War 2, and it's just another really good beat for the deck if you need to go on the ground. Then we have so many instants and sorceries. We have Consider. Look at the top 2 cards. Maybe put the card in your graveyard and draw a card. You got to find your Delvers and your Haughties. Fading Hope to bounce something as well. We got Impulse because you really do want to be looking for these cards. You're looking for your win cons early and then protecting them with this deck. So Impulse, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Counter Magic, make disappear. Casualty 1, if you have to sack something but you don't really want to, you can still just, this is a really good early counter spell. Counter unless they pay 2. We then have ways to phase out. March of Swirling Mist, phasing creatures out. Even if you have to phase your own out to save your creatures, it is a thing to do, so make sure you do that. We do have Shore Up in there as well to give our creature hexproof, and we can untap it potentially to be a blocker, so more ways to protect our creatures. And with Slip Out the back in there as a 1-of as well, 1/1 counter and phase out. Now Otherworldly Gaze, look at the top 3 cards, any number in your graveyard rest back in top of your library, so this can feed your Haughty and make the Tolarian come out cheaper as well. So we've got ways to put stuff in the graveyard, protect and counter. Counter, Spell Pierce, non-creature spell, they have to pay 2, and then some card draw. Now this is draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land card. So if you want to get a creature on quicker or build up your Haughty Djinn, you could then put more instants and sorceries in there if you do desire, and then you got a big creature or cast and you Terra earlier. This deck plays and the synergy is so well. The Modern Age, draw a card, discard a card, and then this will flip when you get to the lore counter 3 into a 2/3 flyer. So it gives you 3 more creatures to attack with as well and take to the skies. Land base, very simple with this. 21 islands, nothing rare about this at all. When you actually look at it, the main board with 4 Haughty Djinn is the rare, and the March of the Swirling as well. You could actually put this together very easily on Arena as well if you want to play this in Arena, because this is budget Arena as well, and I think it does pretty well and it's pretty prevalent at the moment as well, so this is a good deck. We have a sideboard yet again. Like I say, you need to put into the sideboard what you think your meta needs in your LGS or your friends, what you're playing against, because sideboards are all very they're very different. If they're all playing meta decks, then you could probably go with something like this sideboard. We've got extra Fading Hose, March of Swirling Wisp in there, Shore Ups, basically a lot of the spells that we've already got in there. We do have a Pithing Needle, and there's another counter spell, Essence Capture, which is pretty decent as well. Counter target spell, put a 1/1 counter that can build up your creatures as well. But like I said, the main board is what you want to be building here, but there's a sideboard here for all under $30. What a budget meta deck. Now for around $45, we have a competitive budget green-white enchantment deck. Now, when I play against this deck, I find it so frustrating to play against. So you obviously know it's a decent deck, and then you can take it to your LGS and gives your friends some beat with us, and maybe a few of them might be playing this as well. So sideboards might be interesting to do what you do after your game 1. But yeah, let's have a little look at this deck. Now we've got lots of enchantments. The creature package is what we're going to run through first. Spirit Companion. Oh, let's start with a 1-drop, shall we? Generous Visitor. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It's a 1/1. Can grow really big, but it is, it doesn't have the trample or anything like that, so can be easily blocked, but still a very good card for this deck. Next, probably one of the most important cards is Youre Naturalist. Enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast. It has lifelink as well. Building this up is really good. Can help you against aggro decks like mono red and everything like that. Just an all in all, one of the most important cards for this deck is your Youre, and at 50 cents is super budget. Spirited Companion comes in, chocks up the enchantments and lets you draw a card, and it's just a nice sacrificial blocker as well. And then we go on to Cameo of Transience, very nice card. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you put a 1/1 counter in. Now this importantly has the trample, so we can get over the top. 2/2, so this can grow very much like the Generous Visit. Beginning of each end step, if enchantment was put into the graveyard, you get to get this back from the graveyard to your hands, or a recurring creature with trample that is very sweet. Weaver Harmony, now this is great because it's not legendary, and it gives our other enchantment creatures control +1/1, so it can really build everything up. And you get to copy target activated or triggered ability you control from an enchantment source. So some of the enchantments that we do have, when you look at cards like Mechiku, Reigns of Truth, target creature gets +1 to end of turn, each artifact enchantment, then you can trigger the Weaver and then copy it again, and that just makes it huge. And if you've got something like Cammy with a trample, oh, you're just lucky happy days then. We then have a 3 borrowed time. We got, fair bits of removal here. Circle of Confinement as well to do more removal. Touch of Spirit Realm. Very nice. We've got lots of enchantment removal that synergizes very well with this deck. You've probably come across this millions of times if you play Arena, so you do know what this does. But if you don't and you strictly just play paper, maybe you haven't seen much of this, but probably I reckon you have. We then have the Restoration of a Gigantua in there, so you can search for a basic plains. Then you can discard a card, bring something back with mana value 2, which is, pretty much everything, or, it's every single one of our creatures. So that works out very well, and this can flip into the Restoration, Architect of Restoration, Vigilance. Whenever it blocks or attacks, you get a 1/1 Spirit token. Shame it's not an enchantment, but still nice to get some, extra creatures on the battlefield. With the last card we're going to talk about, the last 2 cards. Commune with the Spirits, good way to go through your decks and find your enchantment or land. We've got 4 of these in there, 1 drop, very nice sorcery speed. And then the most expensive card in the deck that literally makes it, this is $8.33. We've got 2 of these in there, so this is a lot of the deck. Hallowed Haunting, as long as you control 7 or enchantments, creatures you control have Flying and Vigilance. So then if you get a big Jukai with loads of lifelink, and it's pumped up to the hills, and then it's got Flying and Vigilance, you're getting in there, and definitely aggro decks, if you get 1 big attack in, will find it hard to come back. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you get one of those clerics in there, a spirit cleric, and a power and toughness is equal to the number of spirits you control. So when you can just keep churning out these cheap enchantment spells, 2 mana, 3 mana, just keep doing it, this will just turn into a winning card without a doubt. If you've got more of these and you want to go above the $50 budget, I would probably suggest putting maybe 1 or 2 more in there, because it is a real winning card. Now go to the land base. We've got a couple of expensive, we've got a couple of overgrown farmlands in there. They're around $4 or $5 each, so there's a bit of money there. Blossoming Sands comes in tap but gains your life. And then we've got 8 forests, 8 plain, 22 lands in total for this. There is a sideboard for this as well, so make sure you go and take a look at all the deck lists. And as I said in the previous 2, sideboards are very situational, but I've put one in there for you to have a look at as well. But this is another cool deck, competitive budget deck under $50. So that was the 3 decks to take to your LGS, or play with Paper Magic on kitchen table with your friends. There's not a large outlay for each of these decks. The mono blue, like I said, was $30, and you'll be able to get some wins. You might lose your friends over that one, and the other 2 are around the $45 as well. So really budget for standard when you're seeing some decks at $600, $500 dollars each. These are very good, and if you were looking maybe to spend even $100, $150, which for standard is supposed to be cheap, you can get yourself 3 decks. So how about that? That's definitely something. 3 decks is definitely worth probably better than spending $700, $600 on one, unless nothing against anyone that does that, because some people just like playing the cards they play, and that's what we're all for here, playing what you play. But for budget players, new players, these are really good decks to get into. So if you enjoyed the video today, please smash that thumbs up and found it interesting, and you want to see more of these sort of paper size, as well as obviously the Arena stuff as well. But there's going to be a few of these every now and again. I might do some different formats as well. If there's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. Big shout out to my Patreons if you'd like to go and support me there. The link, as always, is in the description. You lot take care, and I'll see you on the next video.